Hey, how's it going, guys? My name's Jonah, and today on DIY, we're gonna be doing a little video on the Z today. We're gonna be talking about the top 5 things that I hate about my 350Z. Honestly, it was kind of hard to come up with 5 reasons to hate this car. There's a lot of pluses to this car, and I obviously chose it for a reason, but there are some things that I like to nitpick and things that I want you guys to know before you buy one yourself, or if you're just curious on what the flaws on this car are. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. All right, so the first thing I don't like about my Z is going to be the interior quality. Now, don't get me wrong, I do love the interior of the Z. I just don't like how everything was finished. Whatever paint Nissan used from the factory just kind of sucks, and I'll show you some B-roll on the screen right now, but a lot of it is chipped over time and it just kind of looks like crap. A lot of this can be fixed over time. You just have to do some carbon fiber overlays on a couple things and just respray a bunch of stuff black. It isn't the end of the world if you wanted to, fix all this stuff, but it just kind of sucks that out of the factory, Nissan did a pretty bad job painting these pieces. All right, so for my second complaint and the thing that I hate about my Z, it's gonna be the lack of power that you gain from doing engine mods. Overall, the Z makes a good amount of power out of the factory. It makes around 300 horsepower depending on the engine you get, give or take. But the only problem is that I've spent a lot of money on doing performance mods and getting tunes and a full exhaust and all that, and I really only saw like a 15 to 20 horsepower gain. Realistically, you can get way more performance gains out of other cars on the market, so that's the only downside to these cars NA. Now, if you do go the boosted route, you can get way more power out of these engines, but again, you just have to go the boost route, and that costs a lot of money as well. So just one thing to keep in mind. So if you do want 400 plus horsepower, you're gonna have to be spending a lot more money to get there. All right, so the third thing that I hate about the Z is going to be the exhaust note. And this might come as a surprise to a lot of people, especially people that own Zs. And honestly, I actually do like the exhaust note of the car. The only issue that I have with the Z on pretty much any exhaust on the DE engine, which is made from 2003 to 2006, is the fact that it gets super raspy in like the low to 2.5 to 3,000 RPM range. When you're pushing over 50% throttle, it's just extremely raspy, loud, and it just doesn't sound good, honestly. Everything after that is perfect, and I love the sound of it, but it's just really difficult to get over that because you're spending a lot of time there, especially whenever you're trying to push on it. I've had to learn how to drive without getting to that point and getting it to the point where it just sounds terrible. I'm driving just because it drives me crazy. So aside from that, I do love the exhaust note of the car. It's just whenever it gets to that range, it just sounds really obnoxious and just horrible. So there's really not much you can do to fix this issue. I have tons of resonators on my exhaust. I have art pipes. I have a dual resonated Y pipe. I have a Tomei with the muffler and everything like that. So it is resonated and it is muffled to an extent. But if you want any volume at all, there's just not much helping the rasp, in that mid range of the 2.5 to 3,000 range. So a good example I do have of this 2.5 to 3,000 RPM like rasp is whenever I'm on the dyno. You can really hear in that range that it gets really bad. So I'll just throw a clip of it on the screen here so you know what I mean. All right, now, so the fourth thing that I hate about my Z is going to be the oil consumption. Now, specifically for the 2006 model year, you'll know that the engines for the DE rev-ups are going to have oil consumption issues. Most of them have them, some of them don't, but I'd say the majority do. And it's just something you have to deal with on these cars, especially if you own a DE. I think the HR is just a little better, but definitely an issue on the DEs, specifically the 06. It is a downside. I burn about a quart of oil probably every oil change to 3,500 miles. It's not the end of the world, but it is something I have to check up on all the time. So just a downside on the Z that you just have to understand and kind of live with when you own one of these cars. Aside from that, as long as you check and you make sure the oil's in there and you have the right amount, you got nothing to worry about. All right, so for my last and final thing that I hate about the 350Z is going to be the cramped engine bay for sure. It's difficult to work on your car given that it's a V6 and it's kind of stuffed in the back to do a 50-50 weight distribution, and overall there's just not too much room to work with. The most notable time that I hated working on this car because of the engine size and just the engine bay was doing headers on the car. It was an absolute pain to remove the headers and just get them out of the car because of how cramped Nissan made this engine to fit into the engine bay. But don't get me wrong, I do love the fact that they have a larger engine in here and it makes a lot of power, and it just sucks that it's a very, very tight fit, and it can be difficult when you want to do some bigger jobs that require a little more space. For example, on the RSX Type S, it has a K20 motor in it, and let me tell you, the amount of space that Ben has to work on his car is amazing. Like, you can literally see through the actual engine bay onto the ground, so it just shows you like the ability to work on your car is just so much better because you have way more space to, mess around, install, remove, anything that you really need to, so you can work on it much easier and have a much better time working on your own car. Well, guys, that's what happened to this video on the 350Z and the top 5 things that I hate about the car. Again, I love this car. There's a reason why I bought the car in the first place, and I'll be releasing a video here soon on the top 5 things that I love about the 350Z, so you know what things I do really like about the car. That'll be a really easy list to make. This one was a bit harder to make, so leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more content on the Z, just leave a comment down below and let me know. Thanks for watching till the end if you all did, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.